in song. Helen's now going to come and give us the eulogy. Thank you, Helen.
Hello everyone. Thank you all very much for coming, to support and to say farewell to Helen. Please to say thank you. Excuse my glasses, I couldn't find any of them. William Evan Lee was born on the 26th September 1931 in the district of St. George's Hill on the island of Montserrat, otherwise known as the Emerald Isle of the West. We're so green, and as you know, we have of the Irish descendants as well. That's the Emerald. He was the fifth child of 6 children born to Charles and Nancy Lee. His mother died at a very young age, and so the children were brought up by various members of the Lee family, which caused a separation as they were removed from the family home. However, Evan was kept at home with his father, who was not only a carpenter, but a farmer who also raised sheep and goats. He attended St. Mary's Anglican Church in Plymouth, the island's capital, under the supervision of Mr. Barton, headmaster, whom Evan revered. He told me he made him wrote 100 lines saying, "I must learn to put brains in my skull." Having left school, Evan was sent to learn his trade, as the term is. Firstly at tailoring, but he became frustrated having to sew buttonholes daily without progressing. So he was sent to learn shoemaking with his uncle George Blake in Plymouth. This he enjoyed. However, a wind of change was blowing around the Caribbean. The war was over in Europe, and our mother country, because most of the islands were then British, was calling for workers to come and restore the country, as most of you know. The Nationality Act of 1948 had granted all subjects of the colonies and Commonwealth the right to come and live and work in Britain. Thus, the Windrush from Jamaica, as you all know, in 1948 was one of the first. And so Evan joined the mass exodus of West Indians and traveled to England on the SS Ascania. Anyone else remember coming up on the SS? Yeah. Arriving at Southampton Docks on the 26th of August, 1954, from where he took the train to Paddington. He lived in the Paddington area of London and was very fortunate to obtain work from the local council. His very first job being, as he likes to call it, a sanitary engineer. As you know, he was a very proud man. In our terms today, a dustbin man. But those days, strangely enough, those days, only certain people got those jobs. You know, like family, like the docks, you know, you have, or the mining. There's only certain people, and you have to be strong, of course. And it was an honor, I suppose, to get to people's homes, talking with the neighbors, and lifting that heavy bin. I mean, not now we have bags. Those days it was the tin, the iron. As you know, many prominent immigrants who were given very meager and demeaning jobs were obliged to take them in order to make a living, not only for themselves, but for the family back home. Evan soon left and found work with L.D. Woods in Harlesden, another district in London. as a machine operator. He was always trying to improve himself, and so moved on to work for Handley Page Aircraft, the UK's first publicly traded aircraft company. After the company closed, Evan found work with Westland Aircraft, who later merged with other companies to form Westland Helicopters in 1961. He was happy in the job and moved to Perivale to make travel more easy when the company decided to move out of London and invited him to join them with a promise of accommodation, etc., but he declined. He then found employment with Hoover Limited, Perivale, which is just near to where we're living, who soon closed and moved to Merthyr Tydfil in Wales. I think he was closing down these companies, or something was happening, maybe to lead him to where he finally got. Okay. He then found work with a double glazing company in Acton. As they expanded, they decided to move to the then new town of Milton Keynes. He found work with another double glazing company, and some of you, I could see here, would remember Thermostor. Are you here, Sam? Yes. And Glenn? Yes. Yes. John Morris, the manager, was very pleased with his skills, with the skills that he brought to the company, and asked him if there were any more workers like him. He brought the whole workforce. They were closing down, of course, and people didn't want to go out not knowing if they were going to get jobs in the country. So everyone wanted to stay near London, where if you were made redundant, you could pick up another job. And many of you know in those days, we could walk out of a job today, and this afternoon, tomorrow we have another job. So they didn't take that chance. So anyway, he brought them, everyone, to the company. He was made quality control inspector, a position which he worked hard to maintain, insomuch that the company was 3 times awarded by Mrs. Margaret Thatcher as the best double glazing company in London at the Ideal Home exhibition. He used to come home with glee. We got it again this year. Very happy. John Morris decided to move to the country. And Evan then decided to become a self-employed carpenter and replacer in the field. So maybe there was a reason. These things are happening. Okay. So that was it, and you all know about his skills as a carpenter and window fitter. I think the carpentry really came from his father's, ambition as a carpenter, and so he was able to, as I said, use his skills to make his own living. And it was a time too when Mrs. Thatcher was offering, or the government, I should say, was offering people a certain amount of money, wasn't it, to start up their own business if they wished to in that time. Okay, so that's enough about Evan and his work. He was saying in the meantime what happened to his private life. Well, at home, and most in the Caribbean islands, most of us go to church and we visit one another churches. It didn't matter what religion you were. You're invited, you go along. If you're not even invited, you go along. And some of the Adventist people used to have like the Sabbath, Sunday evening worship. A lot of singing, and as everyone says, Evan liked singing. And also week of prayer. prayer in the week that he used to attend. So, I first met Evan at a Jehovah's Witnesses meeting in Ladbroke Grove, where I was invited by the Rose family. He was asked, well, he too was invited to that meeting. And Sister Rose said to me, that time there wasn't a lot of black people in the meeting. So he said to me, there's another West Indian man there, and sitting next to him is his wife. So I went, and I saw Evan. And Evan was looking at me, and I looked at this woman near him, an older woman, you know, not too bad looking man, near this person. But I was looking at the wrong man. Rose asked Evan if he could walk me home because she had to stay back for a meeting, which meant I would be home late. And because he said, when she introduced us, he said, Evan said, I know her father. Well, as it went on, he asked if I could go out with him and all that. And him having said he knows my father, I said to him, I think it's best if he should take time off his work, come and meet my parents, and ask my father if it's in order to take me out, and if anything further develops, then he let them know. Because if my father should meet me and you in the street, and he would, then that would be the end. I used to go to night school too, and once he walked me home, and I was in fear in case my dad would come. So that was that, and that's how it all started. So when I took him home first, met my mother, and I was telling him about how beautiful he sang. And so his mother said, well, sing for me, son. Sing for me, son. Everybody's my mother's son, as you know. And he sang, I saw one where we sad and torn. Most Adventists would know that hymn. It's a long hymn, but a lot of turnings and things in it. And his voice was really good, very good. And that was it. Now, we got engaged when I was 21, on my 21st birthday, and we got married when I was 22. We got married, believe it or not, in this very church, by a Reverend Rodney Collins. And how that happened, Evan was a Pentecostal missionary, we called them at home, yes? And me being a Seventh-day Adventist. Well, those days, not many of those churches were around. And I said, well, I didn't want to be Seventh-day Pentecostal. And for him, you know, Seventh-day Adventists and their diet, it's not to everybody's liking. They love the preaching, they love the lessons and things like that. But like his father told him, who was a Seventh-day Adventist, how can they not eat the sweetest meat in the world? And so for reasons like that, well, you know. However, so we decided to choose on the Baptist church. Those days I used to go to Regent Street because that was the only, the New Gallery in Regent Street was the only church I know of Seventh-day Adventist. So we chose here. Then for a while, Evan stopped, like, not going to church, not coming here as it wasn't his real church. But when Billy Graham came to Wembley, most of you remember? Yes, and we visited. And then, you know, they gave paper to say, we all must go to church. He did. And he started to come back here. Although we lived in Perivale, as Jonathan said, every Sunday religiously he would come back here to the Wilson Baptist Church. Yes. And because of the love of singing, we said that before, he was encouraged to join the thing. He loved music, and when I was a student, Trinity College of Music, when I was practicing, if I were to play a wrong note, he would say, wrong note! Although he didn't play an instrument, he knew by the air that I was playing the wrong note, so that was good. Well, that was that. Evan became ill in November, around November 2008. And as many of you know, he was scheduled to spend Christmas cruising in the Caribbean, but had to cancel as he kept regurgitating his food. And I said to him, well, there's no point going if you're not going to be able to keep the food down and upset his friends and everybody around, and it would be a waste, really. And if he took very seriously ill, it's another problem for the rest of his friends. So on the night of 23rd December, I called the NHS Direct for advice, as I realized that the Christmas holidays had begun. And if he was not even keeping down water, he would dehydrate. So I would advise to take him to the doctor. And so Christmas Eve, about 10:30, we left home, went to the doctor, and I asked for a letter for admission into the hospital, where we went. And the CT scan revealed a blockage, which resulted in inoperable cancer of the stomach. But that was a shock to us all, because before, when he was being sick, I used to say, well, what any pain? He said, just in his stomach. And I thought it was acid indigestion. So you're giving the usual soothing things, yogurt, things, that is not acidy, to help, not knowing that something like that in such a short while could be inoperable. Because of a heart problem, he had fibrillation of the heart. He was not able to be treated with radiotherapy nor chemotherapy. A stent which was fitted also became blocked, causing another stent to be fitted, by which time the cancer had spread to the liver. After which things began to quickly deteriorate. It was decided that he should be discharged from the hospital. By then, although he had a stent, and I must say he was very strong, as many of my neighbors would know, and they saw the weight that was falling off him, but he would still get on the bus or the train and go places with his bag, with his little sick cup. And when they brought him home from the hospital, too, when they said, there wasn't anything else they can do, he didn't want to go into the hospice or a home, a nursing home. So his bedroom was prepared. Things were prepared at home to take care of him, which is what happened. Well, when they brought him home, as I said, he's a very proud man. When they brought him home, in the wheelchair from the ambulance to the gate, he got up. Sorry. It was quite a thing to see him. And that was that. So all I can say is we're thankful that Evan was never really ill. No, I'm sure your friends, you've never known him to be ill, or seriously ill at all. And he enjoyed life to the full. And so we're thankful to God for his life and who he was. And now, we ask that, Evan, may you rest in peace.